Welcome to What to Do When, a podcast from real lawyers with real perspective, where we explore a variety of legal issues and scenarios. Each week, we focus on a new topic and discuss what to do when and if any of these legal scenarios ever happen to you or a loved one. With over 40 years of combined legal experience, our hosts offer their unique perspectives and insights on a range of real-life legal situations.
Hi there. Welcome back to another podcast here in Richmond, Virginia at Critzer Cardani. I'm Jackie.
I'm Scott. Jackie, what do we have on the docket for today?
What to do when you're starting a business.
Ooh, starting a business. So the entrepreneur out there, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you don't even know you're one, but what we know is starting a business, sometimes it's just a landscape business, right? You got a lawnmower, you have a weed eater, trash bags, a magnet on your truck door, maybe a trailer, and off you go. Is that enough, Scott?
Absolutely. That's exactly where you want to be. Anytime that you are in a situation, I believe, that you're beginning to take money from the general public to do them a service, you have a business. And you really should start acting like a business, because if you don't, there's kind of hiccups and things you can run into, cause you a little problem down the road where you need us after the fact.
So if you're acting like a business, what sort of steps do you need to do to actually be a business?
Wow, that's an interesting thing. So first thing is to have integrity. I'm just kidding, but that is such a big deal. You know, if you're going to start a business, do what you say, follow up with your promises, those kind of things. But
under promise, over deliver, all those things. I mean, these are just general
but it's really important. You'd be surprised. I mean, if you want to be successful, it's actually so easy out there now, because most people, there's a lot of businesses that don't do what they're going to say they're going to do and don't follow through, and people get left holding the bag. We have those clients all the time who are suing a business because they were promised a deck and they got a tear down in a junk pile in their yard and left with nothing. So,
well, first things first, we need to decide.
Yes,
I mean, is this a sole proprietorship? Is this a partnership? Is this an LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company or Corporation? An S corporation, which is a variation of a regular corporation. So there's S corp and C corp. Well, what's the real distinction there? It's really a tax issue. It's more than that, but how the taxes are applied and how you either pay as a corporation or you pay as an individual, or claim income as a corporation or claim income or loss as a corporation makes a difference.
It really does. And I think what also, when you start getting to the corporation side, the LLCs and the S corps, is when you start to shield yourself from liability of the company.
Correct.
So, you know, that comes in when you're trying to grow a bigger business. Usually, like Jackie said, there's partnerships and sole proprietorships, and they don't have the protection. I mean, you are out there on your own. And let's just keep with the lawn care business, I guess. Say you're running a lawn care business and a stone kicks up and takes out a big picture glass window in the front of the house.
Very
and it takes
expensive.
it out.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking probably $3,000 or $4,000 to fix that.
That's right.
You know, do you have business insurance? If you don't have business insurance,
What do you need? But what do you need in order to get business insurance? You probably need a tax identification number. So that's an EIN. You have to register with the federal government, and then you take that to your state corporation commission right here in Virginia, or SCC, and you register your business. Now, does a partnership or a sole proprietorship necessarily have to go through those steps? No. Is it better for you to do so? Yes. And the reason, as Scott was saying, are the liabilities. The liabilities really can bankrupt small companies, and they can bankrupt large companies as well, who in fact do have the protections of varying degrees of business types. But
which gives me a little quick aside, but it's very important. When you're looking at business, say I'm trying to get like Scott Bowen to do my job for me, you know, and he's been in business for a while. A really good way to know that is to look and see how long they've been in business. If he says to me, I've been in business for 30 years, and you look on state corporation commissioner and he's been in business for 2 years, that means he's probably bankrupt before or done something before.
He's obviously not honest about the current status of what's going on. That is not who Scott Bowen is. We do business with him all the time. We appreciate the great work that he does with our website and our marketing. Check him out, by the way, at Net Paradigms. But there are people who the Better Business Bureau is not rock solid because so many people aren't registered with the Better Business Bureau.
And they actually got in trouble recently, so there's a whole bunch of stuff with that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, my point is this. Somebody may be doing business for 20 years, and maybe they did it as sole proprietor. Maybe they worked for somebody else. But if they say my business has been,
operating
check that out. So that's just a little side that I've learned over the years watching people. A lot of small contractors will bankrupt 15
Change
times.
Change
the name and leave people holding the bag. It's just really unfortunate.
Well, so not only do you need to decide the corporate structure or the business structure, whether it's an LLC or what have you, and you can go to a corporate attorney. You do not have to spend big money to do that. There are a lot of people in Richmond, including us, who can help you with the formation of your business, help you with the paperwork and getting it all filed. And it is not expensive. I think it's $100 with the State Corporation Commission to do your filings, but you register your name so no one else can use your name. But we can help you do that. But it's more than just filing the paperwork with the State Corporation.
Well, remember, there's these Delaware corporations, and the reason people go to Delaware and some other states is because they don't have state tax, and that does save you a lot of money, and there's a lot of reasons to do that. The problem is that you just do this online. If you don't know what you're doing, you can set up a corporation easy enough. I think anybody could set up a corporation, but what we see all the time is, what do you want your corporation to be? What do you need in your corporation? What functional things do you need, especially when you start to add somebody to your business? That really becomes important. How do we make decisions together? How do we handle disputes when there are disputes?
Well, really, and that's an operating agreement.
Yes.
So lots and lots of businesses should and do have operating agreements. And it isn't just, let's say Scott and I, for example, okay, who gets the final word? There is no final word. If we don't agree, we don't agree, and it's tabled. But what happens when somebody dies? What happens when somebody has to move away? What happens? It's called a succession plan, right? So it's what happens when one of the partners or one of the owners in the business no longer wants to be a part of the business. That this isn't a forever thing. You don't have to be locked in forever, but you do need a succession plan. And if you don't have an agreement in writing and an operating agreement on how to make that happen, you're only setting yourself up for bigger problems down the road.
Especially if you get very successful. That's when the problem comes.
Sure.
When you're all strapping together trying to make $25, you usually get along really well. But when you start to become a wealthy corporation, then somebody wants to buy a truck and somebody else doesn't, and so, whatever it is, there's all kinds of things. And you start a business with the idea that you're going to be successful. So plan to be successful. And a successful plan in a business means you set up the right structure, you have an operating agreement, you do the right things up front, and then you have the success in the wind blowing behind you.
An important piece, and we don't need to go into, we could probably do a whole mini series on business formation, but I will tell you this. We have seen in divorce cases, in bankruptcy cases, in custody, not necessarily custody, but child support or spousal support cases, we have seen these small business owners who decide that they're just going to keep their business bank account and their personal bank account as one account. So number one, everything that goes into that account is now used to pay a mortgage, a car payment, supplies for whatever business you're running, gas for running to and from the job sites, also your car insurance. It now makes it so difficult to retrace your money, and you are putting yourself in jeopardy by doing that. It is always a better plan of action to have a separate bank account for your business. Just have it designated as your business account.
For each and every business, I would say. If you have multiple businesses, you have multiple accounts. It seems like a pain in the butt, and it is somewhat. It can be an accounting frustration, but you know what? If you want the protection, especially if you're going to be a C Corp, an S Corp, or an LLC, you pretty much have signed off and done nothing by starting a corporation if you don't separate the bank account out, because they can do what they call piercing the corporate veil.
That's right.
Your protection just goes away immediately because you didn't set up separate institutions for each thing, separate bank account, separate documents.
You can't commingle funds. That's really a big no-no. Yes. And in that same vein, if you hire people, you need to pay them and also pay the taxes. So you can have your 1099 employees, those are your contract employees, but there are very specific rules that limit you in what a 1099 person can do. Now, a W-2, a wage employee, most people, if you work at 7-Eleven or Kohl's or the bank, or you receive a W-2 and here's, your annual income. Those, as an employer, you have to pay taxes. Not only do you take it out of your employees' payroll, you take out the taxes they have to pay, and then you take that and you send it to the IRS, because when you don't, they will put you in jail. Okay. But you also have to cover Social Security taxes. And you just have to be very wise about how to do your payroll. Can you do it yourself? Of course you can. You don't have to hire somebody to do your payroll, but you better get smart on it. However, there are lots of payroll companies and bookkeeping companies in the Richmond area who can help you, and across the country for that matter. So it's really wise to seek counsel from an attorney. And
yeah, you're right. I just want to say, folks, you really got to watch your taxes and have very, very smart people. There's a rule that I've used for years, and if when I don't use it, it bites me in the butt. But the people helping you with your taxes should make more money than you do, because they're going to be looking at the tax code differently for extra things, because they're going to try to shield their money and make sure they get the most bang out of their buck. So you don't want to just throw your money into the government, because a lot of times you're throwing money that you shouldn't have to pay or don't need to pay. But you need somebody who can figure that out. And I realize when you're starting out a business, all those things are really tough. There's actually some really cool companies that just come online, like 916, who can, if you have a passion for a business and you don't want to do the business side of it, these companies will come alongside, help fund it. They'll teach you, they'll do all the structure stuff for you, the business stuff and all that kind of stuff. And all you have to do is run your business. If you want to cut grass, you go cut grass.
And they handle the
rest. They handle the corporate structure stuff. So that's really cool stuff. But anyways, the taxes burn so many people. The agreements burn so many people. So, you have to set it up. We just want you to start out on the right foot. We want you to be successful. That's the key.
Don't build a house of cards. Build a strong structure on a strong foundation. Start with the basics. Meet with an attorney, even if it's just for an hour, to figure out what the first 10 steps are. You can read online. You can do a lot of things, but there are specific local and state rules that you need to follow. So we're happy to answer those questions for you. You can reach us at info@cclawva.com or give us a call at 804-793-8010.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Like and subscribe.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of What to Do When. For more episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast, and we encourage you to check our archives to listen to previous topics. Tune in next week for a new episode and some fresh perspective from Critzer Cardani.